I was unable to fit into the world in which I grew up because I was born to middle-class, middle-brow parents in the suburbs outside London, and this conditioned my life. I was unfit to join the human race, totally. And I tried at first, like most young people, I alternately rebelled and conformed. But after the age of about 25, I no longer made any effort to disguise myself as a human being. I gave all that up and lived my life on my own terms, at a great price, but nevertheless I did live it.
Well, what did you think you were if not a human being?
I don't know. I never managed to fit in. This is long before I did anything peculiar, like wear pointed fingernails or long hair or any of that rubbish. When I was a schoolboy and couldn't do anything weird to my appearance, I still didn't manage to fit in. I never managed to be able to be a schoolboy.
Now, someone today growing up just like you were then would be able to fit in, probably.
Well,
because it's a different world now.
It's a very different world. Of course, I live in big cities, and I always have, and this conditions my view of the world. If I lived now in a small village in America, I would doubtless find my life much more difficult than I do living in Manhattan. But nevertheless, it is much easier. You are quite right. In the matter, for instance, of appearance, which is superficial, nevertheless it does condition part of your life. There is nothing you could wear on 2nd Avenue in this district where I live that would make you remarkable, so that you already feel much freer to do as you please.
Mm-hmm. And what led you to write an autobiography?
I was told to write it. I've never written any book by sitting in my room thinking, I will write this book. I've always waited until I was told to write a book, and then I wrote it. And I said a few words which were broadcast on the 3rd program, I think it was called, in England, a highbrow program. And this caused a publisher to say that I should write a book. And in the end, he didn't publish it, he was frightened. But somebody else was found who did. So I received the money before I began, or some of it, and so I wrote it.
Has anyone approached you about continuing that story from where that first book leaves off in 1968 or so?
Well, that ended, yes, I suppose, in about 1966, by which time I would have been about 57, and it was published, as you say, very early in 1968. Since then, I have written How to Become a Virgin, which explains my life since then, and explains the writing of that book and the effect it had on my life.
I see. And does it sum up your life so far since then?
And it summed up my life up to about 1980.
I see.
And the words How to Become a Virgin apply to the fact that once you've been on television in America, you become a virgin. All your sins are taken away. Every terrible thing you've done in your past is forgotten. You become a sort of pseudo-saint.
When did you first realize that you had, as an old coward puts it, a talent to amuse?
Bit by bit, very slowly, because of course when I was a child, any effort to show off was repressed at once by my parents and by the ridicule of my sister and my brothers. I mean, you couldn't wave your arms in the air without being told you were showing off. And so I tried to behave nicely in those days. But as I gave it up, I acquired, of course, in the end, friends. I lived in England in the same room for 41 years. So if you have the same address and the same phone number for all that length of time, you in the end acquire friends. And the way to keep them is either to spend money on them or to entertain them. You have to do the one or the other, or they will leave. And so, as I had no money, I had to find a way of entertaining them.
Did you always secretly think, even at the very worst times, that deep down you were someone that people would, or at least should, pay to hear expound on his ideas?
Oh, no, never. I was put into the smiling and nodding racket by my agent in England. He had taken a theatre which was no more than a room behind a public house in Islington in the north of London. And in those days there were what were called opening hours. I don't know whether Americans know this. The bars opened at 11:30 or 12, shut at 2:30 or 3, opened again in the evening. Well, he knew what he was doing in the evening. He was putting on a play called Madame de Sade, which was being directed by a friend of his. But he didn't want to waste the lunchtime hours. So he said, I thought you could go on then. And I said, with what object, my good man? And he said, you could talk to people. And when I said about what, he said, it doesn't matter. You needn't even say the same thing each day. So I went on to the stage. We were frequently down to 3 people in the audience. I used to get off the stage and sit at one of the tables.
Your book hadn't come out yet?
Before the book came out. The book had come out. When the television playing came out, then everything was different. Then I went to the Edinburgh Festival, where you can do no wrong. Everybody is there to be entertained. That's why they're all there.
You don't give yourself much credit for perhaps actually having a worthwhile presentation.
No, I think it would be a mistake to think that I had any talent. All I have got is that I'm infinitely available.
Well, so is almost anyone.
No, they guard themselves. There are questions...
You could call my dentist and say, come and speak, and if the price was right, he would be available.
He would be available. Then he must be willing to be totally given over to the audience. Whatever they say, he must deal with it. And he must answer, but he must never answer back.
Well, there's certainly a lot more to what you have to say than just being willing to not answer back. And I think you sell yourself short.
Well, I'll revise my basic theory from now onward.
I suppose I deserve that. No, but there's real wisdom in much of what you have to say, which I believe to be uncommon. Which is why people will pay their hard-earned money to come and see you and buy your books.
Possibly.
And if not wisdom, at least insight. You might be more comfortable with that.
Well, from the age of 16 onward, and I never thought about it when I was young, I spent a lot of my time with women at least 10 years older than myself telling me about their broken hearts. I never thought, why am I in this situation? But I spent a lot of time with women. They, as you know, a theatre goer throughout the world is a middle-aged woman with a broken heart. Men never go gladly to the theatre. All the men in the theatre are there because their wives have said, of course you're coming, who will drive the car? That's why they're there. But the women are there and they want to be told fundamentally how to be happy.